I warned her not to board, and still she went. I remember the look on her face when she slammed the car door and smiled, that self-satisfied little smile. The one I used to think meant love, not defiance. "I've got this, don't worry," she said, slipping out of my grip as if I were holding nothing more than air. The taxi whisked her away, and I was left staring at the asphalt, heart thudding, chest tight, as if the world had just tilted on its axis. I had been careful, so careful. I had known the risks, the temptations, the slippery edges that could ruin everything we'd built. I had given her every reason to trust me. But trust, it seems, isn't a gift you can demand. It's a fragile thread that breaks without warning. For months, things had been off. Subtle shifts, small deceptions that seemed harmless at first. The hidden phone calls, the excuses to leave work early, the whispered conversations she abruptly ended when I walked into the room. I had questioned her, gently at first. "Is everything okay?" I'd ask, trying to ignore the tight knot forming in my stomach. She would laugh, dismiss it with a casual wave, and I'd swallow my fear like bitter medicine. I wanted to believe her. I needed to. But the warning signs were there. The pattern was clear. And when she mentioned that conference in New York, a corporate retreat she claimed was vital for networking, something inside me hardened. Not anger. Something colder. Experience, maybe. Instinct. I knew what that trip could mean if she weren't alone, if she wasn't honest. I warned her not to board. I muttered to myself that morning, watching the live feed from the company's corporate shuttle service. The small, sterile control room hummed around me, screens blinking with rows of names, schedules, and access logs. I had access, of course. After years of working with the company, the trust was mine. But trust is a two-way street. And sometimes, protecting someone means cutting off their freedom, even when it hurts. I pulled their corporate access. Just like that. The click of the keys was louder than I expected. Heart racing, I leaned back in my chair, staring at her name on the manifest. It was like severing a thread that had been holding us together. "You can't go," I whispered, almost like pleading with her through the miles. But the truth was harsher than that. I wasn't protecting her from the airport, from the plane, from some abstract danger. I was protecting myself from what I already knew was coming. The first wave of disbelief hit when she called, her voice sharp, accusing. "Why can't I log in? What did you do?" I hesitated, measuring my words. Every fiber of me screamed to tell her to be honest, to explain, to fix what was unraveling. But the damage had already begun. I had to. I said finally. I couldn't risk it. Not this time. Her laughter, cold and thin, sliced through the phone. "Not risk it? You mean you don't trust me? After everything?" "Not everything," I corrected softly, though my throat was dry. "Not when I see the same pattern repeating. Not when I feel like I'm losing you." There was silence on the line. Then she hung up. The first real, gut-wrenching silence since the beginning of this nightmare. For days afterward, I replayed every conversation, every glance, every lie I might have overlooked. I became a detective in my own home, tracing the outlines of deception with a precision that frightened me. And then I found it. The emails, the messages, the flights she booked under an alias, the late-night meetings that never existed. My hands shook as I read them. Not from fear but from a sorrow that clutched at my chest like a vice. The betrayal wasn't abstract. It was tangible, concrete, a living thing that had grown in the shadows of our marriage. I wanted to confront her, scream, demand an explanation. But part of me, maybe the part that still loved her, wanted to understand why. Why she risked everything. Why she chose the thrill of secrecy over the comfort of honesty. When she finally came home, the tension in the air was palpable. She tried to act casual, breezy even, like the past week hadn't been a hurricane ripping through our lives. I didn't let her. "Did you think I wouldn't notice?" I asked quietly, standing in the doorway, eyes locked on hers. She blinked, startled. "Notice what?" I shook my head, disbelief twisting into pain. "The flights. The messages. The lies. Everything you did while pretending you were working late, networking, caring about us." Her face flushed, a mixture of guilt and defiance. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that," I repeated, voice barely above a whisper, but every word carried the weight of a breaking heart. You were planning, hiding, deceiving. You risked us, me, everything. And for what? A fling? Attention? Something you couldn't even admit to yourself? She opened her mouth, closed it, looked away. The silence was louder than any argument we could have had. I warned you, I said finally, my voice steady now, though my chest ached. I pulled your access because I saw it coming. Because I thought, maybe if I stopped you we could still have a chance. Her eyes softened then, but not in remorse. More in the realization that the game was over. That the walls she had built between us were collapsing. I didn't think you'd. I didn't expect you to do that. I did it because I loved you. I admitted, the words raw and unpolished. And now I see that love isn't enough when trust is gone. The room felt impossibly small. The air thick with the weight of unsaid words and shattered illusions. We had loved, yes, but we had also deceived, withheld, and hurt. I realized then that love is never enough to protect you from betrayal. Only truth can. And she had chosen a path that left the truth behind. In the days that followed, I took space. She tried to explain, begged, cried, and offered reasons that rang hollow against the evidence of her betrayal. I listened, sometimes with patience, sometimes with bitterness, trying to reconcile the woman I loved with the choices she had made. But reconciliation was not immediate. It may never be. Trust, once fractured, is a puzzle missing pieces you may never find. Yet even in the heartbreak, I felt a strange clarity. I understood that love isn't possession, isn't control, it's recognition. Recognition that sometimes the person you want beside you is not the person you actually have. And that's the cruelest part of betrayal. It doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your expectations, your illusions, your very sense of reality. One evening, weeks later, she approached me. Tentatively, softly. Can we talk? I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, I saw the fear, the shame, the realization that her actions had consequences far beyond her own desires. I nodded, not because I had forgiven her, but because I had understood something essential. Closure isn't about punishment, it's about truth. I made mistakes, she said, voice trembling. I was selfish. I didn't think about us, about you. I know, I said simply. And I don't know if we can go back to before. But I do know I needed to see the truth. Even if it hurt more than I ever imagined. She swallowed hard. I'm sorry. I wish I could take it back. Some things can't be taken back, I replied. But some things can be learned from. That's all I ask. That's all I ever wanted, honesty. And in that moment, standing in the quiet aftermath of betrayal, I felt a strange mixture of pain and liberation. The woman I loved had betrayed me, yes, but in pulling her access, in forcing the truth into the open, I had reclaimed myself. I had chosen honesty over illusion, clarity over complacency. I had warned her, and when she ignored it, I acted. Not to punish, but to protect the part of me that still deserved truth. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you have to choose yourself, even when your heart is breaking. And that was the hardest lesson I would ever learn.